Hello, my dear friends, and welcome back to Kharkiv, Ukraine. For much of the 20th century, this city, which is my hometown, was part of the Soviet Union for 72 years to be exact. And that period brought massive construction and urban planning to Kharkiv. And its modern look in 2025 with these wide avenues, constructivist architecture that you can see in the background, this all still reflects the Soviet era. In 2015, Ukraine adopted a decommunization law requiring the removal of symbols of the Soviet past. You can't really decommunize a city like Kharkiv in the sense of erasing all communist and Soviet influence, because all these buildings, the square where I'm standing, a metro system will always kind of carry traces of that period. But what you can do, you can rename streets, you can remove some propaganda art from buildings, take down monuments. So it's been 10 years since this process started, and today, guys, I want to show you some places that have already been decommunized, as well as some communist symbols that are still present here in Kharkiv, and there are a lot of them, so let's go. So, when the communists came to power, Kharkiv went from a human-scale provincial city in the Russian Empire to a Soviet metropolis. Well, you could still call it provincial today, but it was way smaller. The Soviets expanded Kharkiv massively. They built new industrial zones, they built new districts, they built new squares. The population grew 6 times. That's why I said it was pretty challenging to erase that influence, because in many ways Kharkiv was built by the communists. And when this decommunization process started, it started from here, from our main square. Today it's called Freedom Square, and I'll show you it a little bit closer. This is the beginning of the Freedom Square in Kharkiv, and if we look this way, the square continues. It was originally Dzerzhinsky Square, named after Felix Dzerzhinsky, the founder of the Soviet secret police, also known later as KGB. And this organization was responsible for mass arrests, executions, political repressions of Soviet citizens. So we renamed this square, and now it is Freedom Square. Huge open spaces like this were a very classic feature of the Soviet city planning, because these giant squares were meant for parades, for demonstrations, big gatherings. This is one of the largest city squares in Europe. Sometimes it's called the largest, but that's not true. But the square is absolutely massive. Also, any self-respecting Soviet square used to have a big statue of Lenin. It was actually an absolute obsession with Lenins and Dzerzhinsky, so they were everywhere, in the names of the cities, in the names of the streets. And when we got rid of our Lenin, we didn't find anyone good enough to replace him. So he stood somewhere here, and as you can see, this place is just empty. This view of Kharkiv is considered one of the symbols of Kharkiv. It's lovely. Here at Freedom Square we have a war memorial. I just looked up what Ukraine actually prohibits under the decommunization law. So you can't display in public the Soviet symbols like the hammer and sickle, the red star, the Soviet Union flag, any slogans of the Communist Party, but at the same time we have some new Ukrainian symbols. I just want to show you guys this guy. I don't want to call his name. If you know him, you know him. And also a new Ukrainian symbol is this flag. And if you wave this flag in public in Poland, immediate deportation, and they are also adopting a law to put people in jail if you display this flag in public. It just, you know, powers change, symbols change. What is good in one country is bad in another country, so you have to be very, very careful with this kind of stuff because you really can get in trouble. So you won't find any visible symbols of the communist regime here in the downtown area of Kharkiv, but I want us to travel to the industrial part. And it's a freaking Detroit full of abandoned factories. They didn't really decommunize anything there. So let's jump on the metro and go to the industrial part of Kharkiv. The metro is a piece of a Soviet history itself, so we are going to ride the industrial line. There is the industrial line that was built by the communists to supply all the factories with workers in the mornings. And often it's like a separate metro station is right next to a factory, so it would be easier to commute for workers. Now these factories don't work, but the remnants are still there. I got lost here. I don't usually use this industrial line, and actually the metro is free for all residents, for visitors, for everyone. Okay, let's go this way. It's a lovely autumn day today. The leaves are getting brown and we are in the industrial part of Kharkiv, guys. It's way, way less fancy than the downtown area, but it's not too bad. The first mosaic I wanted to show you guys is called The History of Electric Vehicles. And I guess those dudes are holding the red flag. So maybe it includes some prohibited symbols. So I'll flip the camera to show the whole of it. This mosaic shows the evolution of transportations from horses all the way to electric vehicles. Here we can see some workers, and I think they are actually holding the red flag. I'm not sure, but it looks like this. Then we can see another Soviet dude, and finally the electric vehicles, the trams, because this mosaic is near the tram depot. It's absolutely massive, it is so long. And here another workers, men and women, and they are so dedicated and they are moving toward progress. So what do you think, guys? Preserving or taking down? I'll show you what it's made from. So these mosaics are usually very long lasting. They are made of these pieces of colorful tiles. I like it. I would definitely preserve it, and it doesn't really have some bent obvious symbols. This factory don't work, and it used to produce refrigerators. And at the edge of the building we can see a very classic mural related to labor. The Soviet guy is holding the sun, and the slogan is "Glory to labor, Slava trudu." And the factory is just a bunch of offices. We no longer produce refrigerators in Kharkiv. Some of my thoughts, guys, on this decommunization process in Ukraine. I know for sure that UNESCO and similar organizations, they protect humanity's heritage regardless of whether it's seen as politically good or politically bad. Ideally, during decommunization in Ukraine, there should be options like to protect, to remove, to move in a museum, but I've never heard of any Soviet time museum in Ukraine. I lived in Poland for 2 years, and Poland went through the similar process, and Poland doesn't have any good memories related to the Soviet Union, but they created museums. By the way, a lot of those mosaics, for example, or statues, they were created by professional artists, and some of them were like really beautifully crafted. So I would definitely evaluate them from artistic point of view, and it would be good to have a museum because it is history, especially when it comes to Kharkiv that was built by the communists. This is the history of the city, a chunk of it. So what do you think, guys? Would it be a good idea to create a museum, or we just have to erase this chapter of the city's history? Let me know. I'm really bummed, guys, because this building had a mural related to space exploration. A very noisy tram. So this is the remnants of the mural. The building was destroyed, maybe in an attack, and it was all about cosmonauts and rockets. I'll put the picture of this mural because I took a picture of it maybe 5 years ago. It was pretty interesting, and also an iconic Soviet art, murals related to space and space achievements. Those pieces of art, of Soviet art that we already found, guys, promoted communist values like hard work, science, progress. And also there was a huge emphasis on friendship because the country was huge, many different republics, many different nationalities, and they tried to promote this idea of people's friendship. And I'll show you the monument that shows this very idea. These are two men, and they hold hands. They're not a gay couple, guys. They symbolize the friendship. One man, the right man, is wearing traditional Ukrainian outfit, and the left man is wearing traditional Russian outfit. And this might truly be our last chance to see this monument, because under the circumstances it might be taken down. The weather went downhill fast near the river, and we are now moving toward downtown area again, and the industrial Kharkiv is behind that bridge. I wanted to briefly touch one more thing. At some point this decommunization process kinda merged with de-Russification process, and now they are running together. I would like to keep this video neutral, so I will not cover anything related to de-Russification much, and especially under the circumstances, but a lot of things beyond me, because now they mix up everything: politics, culture, music, science. We have a beautiful metro station that was named after Yuri Gagarin, the first human in space, and also a huge avenue. And we already renamed everything. I don't know how it's possible to put on the same level the founder of the KGB and the first human in space. Just recently I read that in London they installed a statue of Gagarin to mark the 50th anniversary of his first space flight, and this statue stands permanently in the Royal Observatory in London. Yet Ukraine that actually has a direct connection to that event, because it's a well-known fact. A man who designed rockets for Gagarin, a lead engineer, he was of Ukrainian origin, but we decided to got rid of his name. So a lot of controversial stuff is happening. We will see how things will progress, and I will keep you updated, guys. And I would like to say bye for now, guys. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope it gave you some insights into what's happening here right now in Kharkiv, in Ukraine. If you would like to support this channel, you can buy me a coffee. And of course, I'll see you in my next videos. Bye!